we make a recap about the AI-assisted BIS mapping designer, because you might know that we have offered this product already in April 2024. It is our first productized AI-supported solution, and we went into the heart of our integration platform where data transformation happens, the art of data integration to transform data structure and message structure. And as experts know, this is one of the most challenging tasks within an integration process. Could be time consuming, requires a lot of understanding of data, of structures, of source, of targets. And in this area, we incorporated AI Assistant, and we are bold enough to say we are sure that integration team will get 60% uplift on productivity using this AI assistance. Saying existing integration teams will get this productivity uplift. We are not saying that every kind of person, a newbie, a starter, will all of a sudden become an integration expert. But even the learning curve for this kind of people is dramatically flattened and accelerated. But let's see later on in the demo what we mean by that. This AI assistant in our BIS mapping designer responsible for data transformation is located in the area of development tools, because what we thought in our portfolio strategy that we address the needs of people that develop assets, users that develop assets with our products. And on the right-hand side, and you just see it as a hint, we have also investigated and researched in support for people that operate our solutions. What could, for example, specifically machine learning do for people that operate a BIS platform to inform them about misbehavior or some strange behavior patterns in the system that might indicate that something unpleasant might happen. We are not talking about this today. We are talking about the left-hand side, the support of development tasks for users, which could be support by knowledge. And that also could include that we help users to create assets on our platform as we support the AI with knowledge about our specifics. So what we are talking about, the AI mapping designer, the AI assistant mapping designer, is the left-hand side. And the next slide is saying, so if we think, and really in an idealistic way, what is required to make an integration flow? And this is not valid for each single requirement, but in general, somehow this is important tasks that are required for a user to make an integration flow between two endpoints. Very simple. And it has not everything to do with using a SEEBURGER product or any kind of other product. For example, understanding requirement. It is, of course, not appropriate to work with a tool to do a data mapping, a transformation, or to integrate backend systems if you have not understood requirements. So what we took into our consideration was a holistic view. What is a user doing before a double click on a SEEBURGER product happens, and what might happen after the job is done using our product? So we had this holistic approach, and we have learned that in this tasks that I have framed here in orange, the contribution of AI is extraordinarily high. So we have a lot of support, proposals, of any kind of help, confirmation of some tasks that are done in this topics, in this framed topics. The other topics, not so much, or maybe we have not found it out, but this is really a very good learning that 60% of the tasks already are very much supported with the help of an AI assistant. So let's see, what does that mean? And we will start, and I will hand over to Daniel to introduce us into some of the typical tasks a user is doing with our product, but more important for his or her organization. So Daniel, will you please take over from here?
Thank you very much, Thomas. So what I will do is I will start with a brief video, which has the benefit that after this session, if you want to see it again, you don't have to watch necessarily the full recording of this MTE. You can watch that small video in the future. It will show you a typical use case, which I will comment on, and how it's applied with our AI tool. And then afterwards, I will jump into the actual IDE to show you hands-on how to operate it. So I will stop the video once in a while. So in the beginning, we start not with a mapping, we start with an actual requirement. This is very typical that this is how your workday starts. You receive an email, in this case with a request, dear Tom in this case, I'm sorry, my stop button did not work. In this case, this Tom guy gets an email from his probably supervisor. Hey, we have an XSLT mapping. Please migrate it to BIS, SEEBURGER. And Tom says, okay, I don't want to figure out what this is about. I want to be smart. I want to quickly achieve this task so I can spend more time drinking coffee. What Tom does is using the AI assistant to transform the XSLT mapping into BIS mapping designer code by using the proper prompt, pasting the legacy code, and afterwards first getting an explanation on what's going on, and afterwards even getting the transformed result. So if you scroll down, you see not only we have the documentation here in a human readable format, we have the actual source code, and we have this convenient copy button here on the right hand side, where you can just copy the source code from in this case the AI view to the actual source code editor. In this case, the user is checking if it looks about right, copies it to the front end, and if we are expanding the actual paths, you can see in the mapping tool after clicking on it that you will see a lot of copy lines, and I will stop here again. So you see, for example, in line number 14, not only did the mapping be achieved successfully, it even recognized it's not only the path going to /3039, it's also recognizing, there was a filter criteria. The filter criteria says only map if it's SU 3035 in this case, for example. So the logic also got translated in this target format, which in this case is this mapping designer language. In line number 24, highlighted here, we see there's even some calculation method. And if I, scroll back a little bit, I can see the user is interacting with the context menu to figure out what is this about. So we have here this position multiplied with 10, and what the user now does with a right-click command is commenting the code to not only transform the code, making it usable, we even get an explanation on what's going on here. So in this case, we get a comment which we can also copy and paste to our source code. So what the user now achieved is not only generating the mapping out of an XSLT mapping, we even enhanced it by documenting it. So the value is even higher than before. So we not only did a migration of the mapping, we enhanced it. Additional possibility would be, for example, here to get an extra explanation. So our context menu with the AI commands not only allows you to comment, you can also either improve source code or you could comment. In this case, it is the commenting function. An improvement would be if you have a source code with some sort of algorithm and you want to make it better, you could look for pitfalls and improve them by using the tool. And
Daniel?
I want to scroll back a couple of slides here. Here you see also a reference to our white paper. Yeah,
Yeah, please
I
go
can
on.
hear you, Thomas.
Yeah. After the white paper, I have a question.
Yep. I have an issue with the sound, I assume. I cannot hear you clear, Thomas.
Okay.
Now it's
Please
better. Can you
move
repeat it?
forward with talking about the white paper.
Yeah. The white paper, The Art of Efficient Prompting, which is shown here, is basically is a guideline which we released last April, but it's still up to date in a sense. It introduces you in the foundations of prompting in context of mapping design. It shows you which users are addressed, how to start even using AI, how to set a scene, how to design prompts, and it even gives you very specific examples of how a prompt could look like. I now will move into the actual tool and just show you a little bit how it would feel in the tool. So in this case, let's assume we have this legacy 850 XSLT mapping. So it's a mapping from or to 850. I don't even know without looking into too much details. I'm copying the source code and I tell the assistant, please migrate this code. And then I receive an output. It's kind of generating it on the fly. That's why it will take a moment. And while it is running, I will comment on something. For example, you will see all those commas here because the AI now, because it's generic AI, it's always a little bit different. It was assuming we are creating a JSON format here, which typically has a comma, but actually in our mapping language, there is no comma. So this one was created by accident. But no worries, what we are doing here is called code painting. We are first drawing something and then we are refining it. In this case, we will tell the software, please remove those commas. But other than doing this line by line in manual way, I can just say remove comma, and then it will just do that. And of course, if I don't catch it at the moment, I could copy the code first, and then I would recognize it in the source code editor that that something is odd. But of course, if I find it out beforehand, I can put it in the prompt here. And there's also a possibility to give those kind of rules to the AI system that it every time considers not using a comma. So I can make it smarter if I want. But for now, let's copy this source code, paste it. And as you can see, there is nothing red, and that typically means the source code is generally already legit. So for example, if I force an error by putting a semicolon here, you see, aha, it's not legit. That means everything you see here is generally legit source code. So we have a PO1 record here with a 350 fed by position external, 330 fed by the quantity field, the vendor number qualifier in 235, the actual vendor number for the article in 234. So we have actual file match. Not only have we have file mappings, we even have it commented. So on the fly, within seconds, we created out of an XSLT mapping, without even understanding it, the skeleton of a mapping. The reality is we talked about 60% and up to 60% improvement. You still have to do some fine tweaking with your structure. Probably this record in your SAP, maybe, I don't know, maybe you have KA1 with segment version 01 or something. So you may need to do minor adjustments, but the big thing is that instead of going line by line, which would typically cost you probably 5 minutes or so for each of those blocks, you can just create the skeleton out of the box, and all you have to do is the fine tuning. And if we are honest, if you do this manually, there's a high chance that you miss something. So if you have a developer looking at this, the developer probably by copy and pasting starts here, copy, and probably forgets this line, because that's just how humans are. You may forget it. If you do it with the AI, you still have the chance that the AI is doing a mistake. Let's say like this, it's creating the semicolon, but then you know, there's something wrong. So it may be wrong, but at least it's complete. So where I'm going here is with this approach, using the AI to do it, you have a higher chance to catch everything, and you let the human go the last mile. And that's what you really do. The big chunk of the transportation process is done by this AI machine, and the human is doing the last mile to the door and delivering the package. But that's really what you have to focus on, the last mile, and that brings a lot of savings comparing to, again, doing a task like this line by line. And yeah, was there some question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly in this context, we have somebody who is asking the right question, saying, that's nice, I understand. The mapping conversion is based on the input of an existing XSLT mapping. Cool, understood. But the real benefit comes from creating mappings from scratch using an AI prompt. Is that also possible? And let me answer this question, because the answer is yes, it is possible. Meaning from the scratch is what you can do already today. You can define in the AI assistant your wish. Could you please create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you clearly define what you would like to have, because the XSLT is doing nothing else. For the AI, the XSLT code is your wish in a prompt, and it is expressed in the code. But you can do that like anybody else if you use our normal human language and you articulate your wish. What you will find out in a couple of minutes is that we also work on another way to create a mapping, because something you have to tell the AI. And we have decided, what if I upload into an AI a documentation of my source and of my target, a human readable documentation. Could be a documentation I copied from the web, a documentation which is in my backend system. And then I tell the AI, you see these two documents, one is describing the source, the other is the target, please create a mapping out of that. So baseline is the XSLT, what we are doing here is a replacement of your wish. For the machine, makes no difference. And the XSLT code is something where we have real life experience, that we are at the moment having a lot of migration projects from platforms that for whatever reason the customer would like to give up. And they find XSLT maps in this platform. So we use this example, and they said, we have no further idea what this mapping is doing, who did it, and whatever. We have no documentation, we have nothing. But the thing is, please transform it into a mapping on the modern B2B platform. And for that reason, we have taken this example. Please, Daniel.
Yep. Thank you very much, Thomas. But as you said, we have this later on. So where we are heading here is we will show you a little bit more on the tool here and switch back to the presentation where we will show you where we are going to. And basically what you mentioned is the second big use case, because the first use case is you have stuff and you want to have it differently. That's the migration use case. And the other stuff is you have onboarding, basically. You want to do something new. And that's, and typically you don't come then with an XSLT mapping, you have a story. That's what you have. You have a story with different sources, like such as guidelines or other sources. And they are really the starting point for your journey. And we will come to that in a couple of minutes. Before that, I would just briefly like to show one more time the context menu options. So, for example, here I could now ask again to explain the source code, suggest an optimization that does not make sense in this case, or to comment it. Optimizing would be if something here would not be good from an algorithm, and it could be better. For example, if I use a variable and assign it to the value hello, and then I say So, and now I can say if this test equals to hello, only then do that, for example. So now I could ask, is this possible to be optimized? So if I select it, then it will tell me basically a bunch of stuff. What it will tell me, for example, is, yeah, I have to wait, unfortunately, until it's writing everything, but it basically told me already, hey, you are using a variable here, which is fixed. You can just directly write the stuff. You don't have to put it in a variable. Also, this is always true, so you can save the whole parenthesis. This is typically what you get. So yeah, remove unnecessary conditional check. So this is always true. So it will tell me just yeah. In this example, it will just remove the whole thing, basically. Yeah. So you can optimize on the click, which makes sense when you have old source code and want to see on what to get rid of. So you can interact here with the window. You see the results live here, and you even have a graphical view of what you automatically created with the AI to make sure that what you did is also correct. So you can always do that. Okay, I would switch back to the presentation now and temporarily hand over to Thomas.
Thank you. Just as a recap again, what you have seen is that we are using AI for the design time only. That's important. We are not using AI for the runtime that we forward to an LLM. This is payload, please transform it to something and give me the transformed payload back. We're not doing this because the way we do it allows you to use AI in a cost-effective way. We as SEEBURGER, with our team of users, we have spent on average about $20 euros each month, and we are using it extensively. It is depending on the use case. If you use a lot and have a lot of prompts with a lot of tokens or a lot of text, then it will cost more, but it's astonishingly cheap. You have fast and reliable execution, because if you integrate AI during runtime, then you never know how long the AI will take to give you answers. We have seen it in the example of Daniel. He was saying, oh, sorry, I have not expected that AI takes a long time to provide me with all the answers. We do not know what we need in our case of integration and data integration. It's much more often, give me a fast and a reliable execution of mass data. Yeah, all the chunk of data must be executed in a certain period of time as fast as possible. You can't assure this with AI as a runtime. You also have an issue if you use AI during the runtime. You could never trust that each execution of the prompt is coming up with the same result. So what you experience if you play around with AI is the same here. So if we only use it to help us to create a code, but then the code is executed every runtime in the same way, we can assure accuracy of data. The way how we implemented it also assures that you are aligned with internal usage policies for AI. One simple example is we are not uploading payload information into an AI. Nobody can learn from it. And last but not least, we keep the human in the loop. We have seen Daniel, and whatever the AI answers, which could sometimes be 100% perfect and accurate, but sometimes only by 98% or 95%, whatever that means in detail, it's Daniel who is in the loop and can correct it and can assure it and can say, no, thank you for the proposal, but a little bit like that, I have to make some changes and now it's fine. So we thought through, we think about it, and this is the result. The next slide. We'll say, we also ask what are the main use cases. We have spoken about XSLT conversion, but our team is the AI assistant for code and mapping support, doing the hard nuts. I'm here at the moment visiting my colleagues in Amsterdam in our Dutch office, and we have a lot of brilliant mapping designers and consultants here. And I was asking them, have you ever worked with regular expressions within BIS Mapping Designer? And they said, no, I know that regular expressions exist, but we never worked with it. I said, BIS Mapping Designer is so powerful to assure accuracy of data. You can do so many things, yeah, to bring data to a next level. And regular expression is one of the things, but it's tricky to handle this kind of regular expressions. I'm not a consultant, I'm not a technician in general, but I learned about regular expressions, understood it's a powerful thing, but it's hard to understand the syntax to use it appropriately. With the help of AI, everybody can use it and to say, I would like to check in my data transformation if the content of this segment is really an email address, because if not, I have to interrupt the mapping or I have to throw an error, because then the data is corrupt. Yeah, it's not useful because I need for every data set a valid email address. Just to make an example, regular expression can help me to check if the content really fits to the syntax of an email address with the @ and so on. So there's a hell of use cases, and we only named some of them. And as Daniel said, we highly recommend to download the cost-free booklet where we talk about the art of efficient prompting to help you to get familiar with this. In the next slide, we give you already a warning. This is a template. This is something to help you to onboard. But what we learn every day, every week, every month is Gen AI is digital WD-40. WD-40 is naming 5 use cases only on the product itself. Funny thing is, on their website, they have collected 2,000 plus use cases their users have reported to them. So the same as with W40, the value of AI is depending on the user's creativity, on crazy ideas. Can I use it for this? Can I use it for that? And you will get surprising results. So we just can help you to find your own way, to describe some of the use cases and share our experiences, but you will step into a world of a lot of surprises as the people stepped into a world of a lot of surprises using WD-40, because the most amazing use case I found in this 2000 is this use case. One person reported that WD-40 is excellent to remove a boa constrictor from an engine compartment. They never thought about it, but it worked obviously. And fun fact too, I have found this use case out of 2,000 use cases by uploading this document into an AI and said, what is the most surprising use case of WD-40? So I used AI to find this nice use case, and this is also something I have not expected. And the same here, you will have a lot of use cases the more you dare to use it. The next slide will give us an overview of lessons learned, and I will hand over to Daniel again.
Yep, I will take from here. So this is information about our event where we presented, or where Thomas presented yesterday. And what he presented was the next evaluation, the next evolution step of our AI journey, which we will come to soon. In front of GS1, we yesterday announced our kind of roadmap for taking it to the next level, considering your feedback as customers, your valued feedback, because based on feedback, we did some improvements.
The interesting thing about our presence at GS1 was we have not been sponsored, as we are in contact with the people dealing about, in this case, B2B integration. they invited us and said, what you have done with this AI assistance in your mapping designer, please tell our member organizations in 106 countries about it. So I jumped in the car on Sunday and I accompanied the meeting of GS1, and we gave the presentation about what is the key requirements, in this case B2B integration, and how do we contribute with the AI assistance to it. It was a great event. We had a lot of fruitful information and interest, because these are the experts and they have seen what we are doing here add some value to a thing which is of course there for 30 years, but we brought it on another level.
Thank you, Thomas. And again, to what were the feedbacks from users? So we have two major groups, the ones that not have started yet, and they typically ask themselves, yeah, am I even allowed to use it? What's the point, and where do I even begin? So those are the typical questions from people which did not even touch the AI topic yet. Whereas the ones that have started are typically hooked immediately. The reason why is mostly because all of a sudden you have a sparring partner which you can ask all the time without being shy. Imagine you are a power user, then you can constantly use the AI assistant for having some sparring discussions about how to solve a difficult issue. If you are a junior, you can ask the same question 20 times. If you ask your colleague 20 times the same question, they probably start getting annoyed. But if you ask the AI will just politely every single time give you an answer. Or if you even not understand, you can say, tell it to me like I'm an 18-year-old graduate. And then the answer is probably a little bit simpler than what you first got. And sometimes you probably don't even work often with it, because the mapping tool is just one tool, and you don't use it often. You use it maybe 4 times a month, and you probably forgot what you last time did. And now again, you have immediately an assistant handy giving you access to what you need. And this is the major benefit, I would say. However, we identified there is a wish. While we are having this AI assistant enhancing the experience with XSLT and XPath and XQuery, we still need to bridge the gap between what is the requirement, what is the SEEBURGER Cosmos, what is the Cosmos of my ERP system. So it would be nice to have this knowledge somehow available in the AI universe. And that's where we are heading in the future. So in the future, we want to add a layer of context. That means only having the possibilities as discussed before is very nice for the, let's say, XSLT migration story, but for the onboarding story, and that was the question 10 minutes or so ago, what if we have to create something new? So the truth to that is, you not start from scratch painting some random stuff. So you will not say, I do a mapping from something to something without any idea. You come from a story. The story is you have a new business field and you need to onboard a new process. And that new process is probably an orders API of Amazon or something else. And what you have is a description. How does that interface look like? Probably some sort of Swagger file or a PDF document. You have something describing the use case, and you have something describing your system, which is a web shop or an ERP system or really anything. And you also have SEEBURGER. So the idea is to have a layer where you upload the documentation of SEEBURGER, you upload the context of your own system, at least of the interface of your system, and you upload the task, for example, connecting to a certain orders API of Amazon. And then after having all those contexts, it's a whole different game if you play again with the AI, because now you can literally say, not migrate, but write this story from scratch. You tell the software, hey, this is what we have to do. This is the story. Start writing the story. And then you get something from scratch. And that is what we will present in the next AI MTE. It is not the actual next MTE, but it will be the next one with AI context. We call it the 12-second story. It's the 12-second story because you use 11 seconds to write the prompt and 1 second to write the mapping skeleton. Skeleton is the disclaimer, so you will not have a fully functional mapping, but you have what we saw before. You have a structure, you have field mappings, and your starting point this time is not some source code. Your starting point, in this case, on the left-hand screenshot, you see a retail guideline for, I believe, an orders format or something. On the right-hand, you see a mapping code. And that is a journey not from code to code. It's a story from books to code. So by reading context, the AI can create that. So on the left hand, we not only uploaded the Rewe guideline. In this case, it's also the IDOC orders document which got uploaded to the AI. And this will be achieved by using a layer between the AI model and our SEEBURGER software. And in our concept, we make sure that the model will not be trained. So we are not training the global model with those documents which we upload, but we keep them in a protected store to make sure that only the user assigned to this kind of functionality is able to read it. So you can have, even in your organization, you can say some of the AI users can access it and some cannot. That's the idea. And that's where we are heading in our AI journey based on your valued feedback. That's the next step. And that was also what was presented from Thomas at the GS1 forum yesterday. So he showed to the world yesterday how to write a mapping by giving documentation and tell the software basically write a mapping.
Daniel?
Yep.
We have questions here.
Yep.
One of our guests has said, what version of BIS has these features? And I was searching to be precise, to be very German, and this is available of BIS 6.7 Service Pack 154, the quarterly release. So this guest has said he does not find it in 134. No wonder.
Yeah.
It is. We offered it in April last year. Yeah. So you might
but
have.
To be honest, we are also evolving as a company. So if you use the most recent version, of course, you will have much better, let's say, updates and patches. So of course, it will run with 154. But I of course recommend you to go to the most recent version to have even the updated, accelerated version of it. But technically, 154 is the minimum.
It is available with 154, and so no surprise that you do not find it in 134. That's fine.
Correct.
Second question, can I map something if I feed the AI assistant an Excel file, which has the source structure, target structure, and the logic?
Yes, and I actually did exactly that. That is possible. I mean, again, you will have a skeleton, so you may have to tweak the actual paths. So that's actually exactly where we want to go. The idea is that a business analyst writes the mapping, and the same source the business analyst uses, the one you use to generate the thing. And yeah, that works very well. But again, you will get some generic AI result, which will typically do the skeleton very good. But then in reality, probably the path is a little bit different. So you have to do some fine tweaking with the structure, and that takes you some time, but not a lot of time to tweak it. But with our mapping tool, you don't have to do that on a lot of spots. You have to fix the trigger segments basically. That's some fine tuning. But that's the idea. Business analyst generates some sort of documentation which you need anyway, and then instead of somebody typing the specification into source code, we just feed that to the AI tool, and the AI tool then generates it.
The basic thing had been this Excel file, which typically somehow source field and target field, and what shall be mapped on each other. This is something that we very often see in huge projects. And this is nothing else like the XSLT map. It's a kind of instruction for an AI to learn from it and execute in the best possible result. So the base thing is, instead of focusing and wasting your time with keying it line by line, yeah, this file, this field goes to that. Instead of doing this, let me say, non-pleasant work, you use AI to make the template, the sketch, which is surprisingly good with regards to the result. And then you just use your fantasy and your knowledge and your expertise to do the fine tuning. So what we found out, it sounds a little bit strange, but we provide users more joy to do stuff like that. It is much more easier and much more nicer to do your job day by day. Is the AI assistant a licensable feature? How do the costs work? What you see, what we provide here, has no extra license costs from SEEBURGER side, because the magic happens with the AI machine. And what we do is we just bring it into one holistic UI. And you have to bring your own license. Maybe your company has an Azure contract. Maybe you have some contractual arrangement with Microsoft or OpenAI. Then you get the API key, you configure it in the product, and then you can use it. So no costs from SEEBURGER. Costs for OpenAI, or in the context of Azure, to Microsoft. Our experience, we have used the possibility directly by OpenAI. It was 20 euros a month each user. No, not each user, for a lot of users, yeah. For this kind of capability we have shown you. The costs might rise in the future if you add more documents. Then you get better results, but maybe you have to pay a little bit more. That can happen, fair enough. But at the moment, to be honest, we are also surprised how much value you get for such a little amount of money. Then somebody's asking the question, and if I have created a map already, can I get an Excel specification out of it? Good question, try it out. I think it is possible. You have to prompt it. This is one of the WD-40 use cases. So you can create yourself, you can create a map, you can upload it, and then you say, please create a specification which is explaining, yeah, you give a little bit of context and then you try it out. This is WD-40. Try it out. I'm confident that you will get a good result. Then is also
a tip from my side about that question. Sorry for that. But Excel also have an XML format, so you could say create it to me as an Excel, and then you can even directly open it without doing some sort of copying into the cells. So you can let the tool write the whole Excel file.
We have also another question. I can direct this directly to Daniel because he's a master in CXML and in our approach for mappings. I hope you will also feed into AI about CXML, so exactly understood the knowledge about the SEEBURGER specifics. And then you can ask the AI, what is a specific qualifier? Show me in the CXML syntax and logic and world, what does this mean? So this would help shared mappers work in the same way by getting the same answers, because it's built on the same knowledge. Thank you, we will try it out.
Yep, that would be one of the use cases where you put your own context, in this case, the XML knowledge, into your agent.
And I have seen also requests, some user said, has the latest version of the BIS Studio and still can't see this AI assistance. Yes, there is a documentation which pretty well explains step by step what to do to integrate the API key. You will see the AI assistant if you have configured it. Is there something you can say? Yeah, we are here with the expert. So you
So we
go
have
on.
preferences. Yeah. And all you have to do is entering your key here if it's with the OpenAI cloud. But if you have Azure, you have to also add the Azure URL. But generally, typically what you have to do is click this button, activate it, enter your key, and that's it. And then you use this view here, AI Assistant, which you will find under Show View, AI Assistant. I find it actually twice. Yep, to answer that question.
Good. I hope we could make everybody happy with the questions, which brings us just to the most interesting teaser. If you would like to see the big wonder, wait some time and you can see it. If you have an urgent requirement to see it, ping us directly.